Next up is the Dr. Octorex, which is a it plays Rex files. A Rex file is a file that's been processed by Recycle, and Recycle is it's a utility program that's made by Propellerheads, the same people who make Reason, and it just analyzes audio files, mostly loops. It's really designed to work with like drum loops or percussion loops. But you can use it for just about anything. And you can make your own Rex files, but there's a ton of ready-made Rex files that are available. You can get them for free online if you search for them, or you can buy libraries that are pre-set up to work in here. But what these are, it essentially goes through the utility program, analyzes it, and then puts slices based on the transients of every hit. So that's what we're looking here in terms of this drum loop. If I go over and I hit the run button, you can hear that. I can switch to a different one. This thing holds 8 loops. One cool thing about this is it says trigger next loop, and I have it set to bar. So it doesn't matter when I hit it, it's always going to wait until the beginning of the next bar before it changes. So it loads with the default acoustic kit. But you can go in, and there's a ton of stuff in here. If you look under drums, electronic drums, you'll see Bomb Squad, which is Hank Shockley. If anybody was into Public Enemy, he's sort of the man behind that sound. He's an amazing producer. Really, really cool stuff. So by hitting that, you'll notice down here where it says 91 beats per minute. That's where this tempo of the song had originally been. So I'm just going to drag this down a little bit, get closer to that range of when it was originally produced. I can move on to another one. And you can use all of these different effects over here to change the sound. Like I can use the filter, make it sound more muffled, increase the resonance to make it kind of squawky. You can do all kinds of fun stuff with it. You have an LFO, which allows us to modulate different parameters. So right now I'm modulating the filter. Or you could do pan. And the pan will, as you can hear, it's modulating between left and right, which is kind of fun. You notice up here where the file browser is, or the patch browser I should say, it doesn't give you a ton of options because these are all sort of presets. But if we were to look in the Reason Factory sound bank and look under Dr. Rex drum loops, Dr. Rex instrument loops, and Dr. Rex percussion loops. Let's say we go under instrument loops, you'll see scratch loops. And in here you'll find all kinds of scratching effects. Now, these are designed to load into individual loop slots. So if I hit OK, I can go down and select a different loop slot down here. And instead of engaging it from this patch browser, I can go down and do the loop browser from the editor window. So I can go down here and pick a different scratch. These were all done by DJ Magic Mike, one of the best music producers and DJs I know. He's it's really, really cool stuff. So as you can see, this is a really fun instrument to play with. We'll come back and look at this in just a little bit. Let's move on to the ReDrum. So here's our ReDrum kit. It loads default with like a disco kit. Now this is set up to be like a it's modeled after like an old Roland drum machine, like a Roland TR-808 or TR-909. If you don't know what that is, you can do a little bit of research and find out about it. But they're, probably one of the most, if not the most famous drum machines out there. Roland had invented them back in, or made them back in the 80s, and they originally were designed to to be your rhythm section, or to be your drummer, to take the place of your drummer. But everyone, like all the real musicians, hated them because they didn't sound very natural. But along came electronic music and dance music, and I mean, at the time you could get them in pawn shops or find them in the garbage can for nothing, And now they're so coveted, people will spend thousands of dollars in order to get them. But in this case, it's modeled after that. It does use samples. You can sample directly into each of the devices here. So let's say I select this first kick. I can go up and hit the little play button, and we can hear that disco kit. Down below is our sequencer. If I turn the sequencer on, you'll see the little LED starting to scoot around. So whatever track or sound that I have selected, I can go down here and click. Let's say we want to do a snare hit on 5 and 13. And then we can look for an open hi-hat sound. There's a closed hi-hat sound. And I'll put that on every other even one. So that's a basic kit, basic pattern. You can switch to a different kit and still keep the same programming. Pretty cool stuff. You actually have 4 banks. Each bank holds 8 patterns, so there's 32 patterns total that we can work with, and we'll definitely come back and explore this a little bit more. And then last but not least, in terms of our instruments, this is new in Reason 5. This is called the Kong Drum Designer. And this doesn't have a built-in sequencer, so you either have to play it or you can use you could use some sort of sequencer. You can actually, there's ways of wiring up a ReDrum, the sequencer from the ReDrum, to control it as well, and we'll look at that a little bit later. But this is a great drum synthesizer, and when I say synthesizer, or drum designer, it's like a drum synth. You can get in, and there's different types of modeling or samples that you can use. Incidentally, the buttons, wherever I'm clicking, it's velocity sensitive. The higher you go up, it changes the sound. So right now I'm clicking on this, and you can see the drum module here. It's just a bass drum module, but I can switch this to, say, a synth bass drum and get a different type of sound out of it. Or if you're interested, you could go up to the nano sampler and load up a drum sound like, say, this hi-hat. You can even load up multiple samples into it. There's also a built-in Rex player, so you can assign loops to it. Pretty cool stuff. It also comes with lots of different effects. You'll notice as I'm clicking on things, you have effects processors, compressors, overdrive, all of these things that are available. So you have 2 effects processors per drum, and then there's a bus effect, which you can just gives you another option for adding more effects, and then there's a master effect. And pretty much all of them have the same components. The insert effects add a couple more, like noise and tone. These things are or you can add a low tone to it. Really creates some really unique sounds. Like, for instance, this is a tom-tom. This is a physical modeling, so it does physical modeling, samples, and it does synth modeling as well. So really unique, a lot of fun to program and play with. So that about wraps up this tutorial. in regards to the instruments that come with Reason 5. Next up, let's take a look at some of the effects that we can utilize